Hi, this is Vicki with Crafting for Fun. This is the project we're going to be making today. It was inspired by something that I saw on Pinterest. My card is a tone-on-tone, so a white-on-white card with embossing at the bottom and the top, and then there's a blank space in the middle that was not embossed where I stamped my sentiment. And then I have arrangements of small flowers that were made with punches above and below my sentiment. I do want to give a shout out to my friend Leah. Leah is in the 4th grade. She's an awesome crafter, and she had a major accomplishment at school this week, and I told her that I would do a project and dedicate it to her. And I want to see what she does with this technique. So Leah, I want to see your card when you make one. Anyway, let me show you the things you'll need to make this card. You'll need a piece of cardstock that measures 11 inches by 4 1/4. I've scored mine at 5 1/2 to make a standard base card. You'll also need a layer in the same cardstock. My layer is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4. You'll need a Big Shot machine or Cuttlebug and some type of an embossing folder. I'm using this embossing folder by Stampin' Up, but any embossing folder will do. You'll need a sentiment stamp, of course, and then you'll need some punches. I'm using the Boho Blossom Punch by Stampin' Up, and I'm going to use this little small flower here. I'm using this little tiny punch. It is an EK Success punch. I just got it for a couple of dollars at a craft store a long time ago. It's a tiny 5-petaled flower. And then I also have another tiny leaf punch that's also by EK Success, and I've had it for quite a while too. So just go through your stash and find whatever you have that you think might work for this technique, and you can experiment with what you have. So let me show you how I made this. I created a tool for myself to make this project. I took a piece of cardstock. Whoops, here it is. This is just a scrap from another project, and I cut it 1 1/2 inches wide. And then I took my layer, my 4 by 5 1/4 inch layer, and I laid it down. And you might see on the back side, I laid it down on my work surface, and I laid my piece of paper across it, and I made sure I had everything nice and straight, and I drew a pencil line above and below my little strip of paper, and then I don't need that anymore. And the pencil lines are just going to be guides to help me line up my embossing folder. So I'm going to take my embossing folder, and the first line is maybe 1.5 inches down, but again, I just eyeball that. So do whatever distance down looks good for you, and then how wide your space between needs to be will be entirely dependent on how wide your sentiment stamp is. My sentiment stamp is fairly wide, so I left 1.5 inches, like I said, between my two sections. So I put my paper in the embossing folder, and that first little line that is drawn across my paper is even with the bottom of this embossing folder. So I know that it's nice and straight. So let me grab my Big Shot. Move my original card out of the way. And I'm going to take my 2 clear embossing plates, and it's very important that you get the embossing folder in there without letting anything move. And I'm going to run that through the Big Shot. Oops, trying to run it through with all those tabs there. It's not going to work. I need to open this up to tab 1. So I need to line things up again. So again, I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to line this embossing folder up so that the bottom of the embossing folder is even with that pencil line on my paper. And this is one of those times when you want to spend the extra time to get it in there perfectly straight. Okay, now I'm ready to run it through. So I'm going to run that through and bring it back out. And now I'm going to actually turn my paper the other direction. So I just flipped it around without turning it over, and it's very important that you, if you are using the side of your embossing folder that has your manufacturer's name written on it, then you need to make sure that both sides are embossed the same way. In other words, don't turn your embossing folder over, or your pieces, your top and your bottom will look entirely different. So again, go ahead and make sure that it's sandwiched in there correctly and run it through. And when I take that out, you'll see that I have embossing at the top and the bottom. And I'm going to turn it over. The top and the bottom, and there's nothing in the center. And my pencil lines are on the back side. So I'm going to move my Big Shot now. And it's time to begin stamping. So the next thing I want to do is stamp my sentiment. And I'm just using a sentiment stamp that says thank you and some black ink. And I'm going to use my grid here on my work surface to help me make sure I'm getting things somewhat straight. There we go. That's a good image. Okay. So now I'm ready to bring my base card back in. I'm going to fold it in half. And I can use pop dots to go ahead and apply the card to the layer to the card. So I use about 9. I use 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, and 3 at the bottom. That way I don't have any saggy places in my card. Go ahead and take those off. Raising it up just does add a little extra dimension to the card. If you don't have pop dots, you could go ahead and just secure it directly to your base card. Oops. But the dimension really does add a little bit to this card. And the only thing we have left to do is to do our flowers. And those are so much easier than you probably believe they're going to be. Okay. There we go. So I have my layer on top of my base card. So I'm going to set that aside. Now, to create my flowers, I have strips of cardstock here in colors. I have 2 shades of green and then whatever color I want my flowers to be. And I'm going to punch about 3 of each color of green and about 3 or maybe a little bit more of each shape of flower. And these, again, these strips are only 1 inch wide. So I've got all of my leaves, and I'm going to do just the small flower. I just need that one. 1, 2, and 3. And, oops, I need that strip to do 3 more of these. 1, 2, 3, and that would be all that I would need for the flowers and the leaves. So I'm actually finished with my punches. So what I use to give my flowers a little bit of shape is a piece of foam board. This is actually just a foam stamping mat that came with a very inexpensive, I think it was a $1 stamp set. Long ago I threw the stamp set away, but I have kept the foam board. And then my paper piercing tool, which has a nice rounded end, but you could use something like a ballpoint pen if you don't have a paper piercer. I just put it down on a nice soft surface and press, and it gives my flowers a nice cupped shape. So I would do that with each of my flowers. And you see how it cups the little flowers. And then my leaves, what I'm going to do with those, I'll show you. I'm going to grab my leaves here, and you kind of work with the leaves, just kind of make like you're doing a little flower arrangement, and decide. I'm going to do some above and some below, so I kind of decide how I want to arrange them. And I generally do 3 stems of leaves above and 3 below. So I did 2 darks with a lighter in the center, and on the bottom I like to do 2 lights with a dark in the center. So it's kind of the opposite on the bottom, just to kind of mix it up. And so now I've kind of got an idea of where I want to put them, and I'm actually going to use micro glue dots to actually put these little branches down. So let me grab my glue dots and I'll show you how that works. Okay, I have my glue dots here. This is a wonderful product that's new to my craft store. It's made by the Glue Dots company, and it comes preloaded. It's basically a dispenser, much like a tape dispenser, that stands all by itself on my desk. And I have one that is full of micro glue dots and one that's full of mini glue dots. What I do is just put a couple of micro glue dots on the back of each set of leaves, and I only need about 2 of the micro glue dots on the back of a stem of leaves in order to secure it down. If the glue dots are too big, you can kind of fold them in half so that they stick to the whole leaf. Oops. And they are very, very sticky, and these are very, very tiny. So I'm not going to actually make you watch me put all of these leaves down. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the leaves down, and then I'll come back and show you how I finished the flowers. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my leaves arranged the way that I want them. They're secured down with the micro glue dots, and now I'm ready to begin securing flowers. So you've seen how I cup the flowers, and then what I do is I apply a mini glue dot to the back of each flower. So I've gone ahead and done that as well. I just stuck a glue dot on the back of each flower, and now I'm just going to simply place some flowers randomly here on my card. And I use about a total of maybe 5 flowers for my card last time. That seemed to be a good number. So let's see how many we use this time. Maybe one more. There. And I'll have to go back and add my pearls to the center. Maybe I'll add an additional flower this time. So I've got a total of 6 flowers this time. And I can kind of play with their position because I haven't pressed them down firmly yet. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add glue dots to the center of those. I mean, not glue dots, I'm sorry, pearls. And after I get all my pearls in place, then I give them all a good press to make sure that my flowers are pressed down firmly and that the glue dots have really good contact with the paper. So this is really just a lot of small punched shapes and playing with your embossing folder. And I think it really gives a unique, it makes for a unique card. It looks very intricate and like it took a lot of time, and it really is a very quick card to put together. So now they're all together, and I'm just going to take my paper piercer and give every little flower a nice little pressing, and then make sure that the flowers, the petals, are picked back up. So there you go. There we have it. Another little card, tone on tone, embossed at the top and the bottom with a stamped area and then arranged flowers. So I hope you like this technique. If you have any questions, please email me at craftingforfun@gmail.com, or you can check out my blog, craftingforfun.blogspot.com, for additional craft ideas. And Leah, I'm waiting to see what kind of card you make with this technique. Thank you.